I recently attended MRMW in Atlanta and Quirk's in New York, and wanted to share 3 big takeaways to help keep you on the cutting edge of market research and brand strategy. And 3 takeaways are: first, AI, as I'm sure you know, is exploding, but there is an equal and opposite force of AI fatigue, of trying to keep up with what's changing, what it means, and what people should do about it. So those 2 forces are colliding right now. And the second is that despite all the noise and that friction that's out there in the marketplace, there is real innovation that's happening. I'll talk about that in a moment. And third, foresight is back. So within the world of market research and brand and corporate strategy, there's sort of an ebb and a flow to foresight, and whether it's sort of on the outs or in, and it's very much in right now. And we'll talk about why. So first of those 3 components is, AI is exploding, and sort of just like Newton's third law, there's this equal and opposite reaction to the action of all this innovation and interest in AI. It's really everywhere. And that when I was at Quirk Chicago back in the spring, I think there was 1 session on AI, and that was back in March. And now fast forward to July in Quirk's New York, and it was probably half the agenda. So on day 1, there was this incredible wave of excitement, and people were just sort of, oh, I want to attend every AI session I can kind of get my hands on here. And then what happened was people attended these sessions and realized, boy, this is complicated. It's hard to keep a handle on. And some of the things that are advertised as AI are really just rebranded, repackaged old technology that companies are trying to make sound more contemporary. And that left a lot of confusion and created a lot of fatigue for people. So at the end of the day, once we hit day 2, people were saying, I'm intentionally avoiding the AI sessions. So I think that sort of laboratory of the trade show is likely to play out more broadly across business, as people just hit a wall of trying to keep on top of everything and understand which of these AI technologies is being touted is actually AI, which are real, which ones are going to affect their business, and it's all changing so quickly. Staying on top of it's going to be challenging and emotionally draining. Second, despite all this noise, real innovation is happening, and probably the most exciting peek into the future that I saw was in a session at Quirk's New York, presented by Ironwood Insights and a firm called Persona Panels. And what they are experimenting with is something called synthetic respondents, which sounds creepy, and it kind of is, but it's also potentially some of the future looks at where market research is headed. And the idea here is essentially you take a segmentation model, and then you overlay additional private proprietary research on top of that, and then you take that, plug it into a ChatGPT based engine, and then you use a ChatGPT agent to connect it to the web to start to consume articles, thousands of articles. They were talking about 25,000 articles a day. So the idea is your segmentation is no longer static, and it's almost like a living segmentation, and your segments can evolve, and you can also ask your segments about things, topics, ideas that were not part of your original research, and it can take those original perspectives and values and project them forward with some degree of confidence. So things like gauging brand perception, something happens in the news related to a competitor, what do people think, category events, social or political events. There is the ability to bring this kind of perspective upstream in areas where you might not have been able to field a study or get those insights. And this could be used to enhance secondary research, do early stage synthetic qual, inform marketing copy, innovation. So they did caution it's more for upstream types of things. You wouldn't want to make big decisions off this. You always want to validate with human beings for decisions that matter. But for more upstream, up in the funnel, exploratory research, this is kind of an interesting new frontier. One critique I have of the methodology is it seems to me that it assumes the target audience has perfect knowledge of a given topic that you're connecting to the web to explore. And actual human beings are not consuming thousands of articles, and you may overestimate the importance of a particular topic to a target audience because it's not overlaying awareness curves. And yeah, your audience might care about something, but it takes time for awareness to build and for people to become aware and change their minds. So you could sort of get a false read in certain ways if you misapply the market research tools, but it's pretty cool. And the third is foresight is back. And as I attend these different trade shows, MRMW and Quirks both, collectively, they had 4 different foresight researchers present. for McDonald's, Reddit, Molson Coors, Colgate-Palmolive, and I think we are really seeing a resurgence here. And although none of these, for the most part, these sessions were not positioned as being tightly linked to artificial intelligence, and that being a reason why foresight is more important. But there seems to be a lot of correlation here to me. And I think that's because cycles that drive change are becoming and about to be much, much shorter as change accelerates and we embark upon a revolution of more, better, faster in a big way. So things like the daily human experience being about to change with what Apple's first launching with their Vision Pro product, and is soon to be, I think in 2026, their wearable product of augmented reality glasses that are probably going to be everything that Google Glass dreamed of. And you'll see mass adoption of wearable devices that allow for augmented reality. How is that going to change people's lifestyles? When you have a personal AI assistant that knows you better than you know yourself, and you're carrying it around with you everywhere you go, and it's anticipating your needs before you're even consciously aware of them. How is that going to accelerate awareness and product adoption curves? How is that going to help innovation scale to new audiences in record times? How is entertainment going to change with new frontiers of immersive experiences and the ability to actually feel like you're right there on the field at a sporting event with some of these augmented or virtual reality products combined with AI? New heights of customer service excellence with synthetic associates that have perfect knowledge of the product or service, as well as perfect knowledge of your history of any interaction with the brand, and with customer service agents. An agent that never has a bad day, how's that going to affect churn and brand loyalty? Scientific breakthroughs and technological advancement in areas of health where lifespans are about to probably greatly lengthen as we cure diseases at record rates through the application of AI and running simulated clinical trials and things along those lines. So basically, there's just so much change in so many different vectors of the human experience, and it's all going to hit at the same time. So imagine flying blind through all this different change, which is what most companies are going to end up doing. But wouldn't it be better if you had a guide who could help you figure out what this means for your business? That's the kind of question that companies are going to need to cycle through again and again and again in accelerated loops. And I think organizations that have the resources to invest in foresight are probably going to have an advantage over ones that don't, for things like environmental scanning, trend and megatrend analysis, technology assessments, scenario planning of how and where to make bets for the future. Even foresight as a practice should see dramatic change as exciting new AI tools help analysts see more of what's happening in the real world to develop a point of view on what might be next. So if you're not thinking about foresight, you probably should. And that's a wrap. That's some of my observations from the various trade shows. And stay tuned for more from Finch Brands to help you stay on the cutting edge.